Greetings, fellow snowflakes. I want to talk about a problem that I don't think gets talked about enough. I want to talk about the pressures that women put on men in sexual relationships. All through my life, this has been a thorn in my side, and while I acknowledge that a certain sort of sexual or romantic need does not necessarily indicate anything about a person's gender identity, the pain I have felt in this regard has been a major driving force in my dissatisfaction with being born a man. So what am I talking about? I'm talking about the assumption that a man will take the lead when it comes to flirting, with courtship, and with initiating sex. I'm talking about the assumption that a man will happily take the lead during sex itself. I'm talking about the fact that a man who has a romantic yearning for a strong, protective female will be made to feel inadequate, and the women in his life will resent him for not being more of a man. I'm talking about the fact that, although feminism will pay lip service to the idea that gender hurts men too, and that men shouldn't have to be a certain way, it never calls out the women who want to impose restrictive gender roles on the men in their life. Maybe my view on this is skewed because I'm transgender, but as a person born male who does desire to play the more conventionally feminine roles in courtship, sex and romance, who desires to meet a strong, protective woman to swoon over, who desires to be seduced and ravished by the opposite sex, whose needs in the bedroom are submissive, even in a vanilla sense, and who even prefers to be penetrated than to penetrate, I have been continually hurt and made to feel wrong in my life, including by the people closest to me, the women in my life. Women who are strong and assertive in character, who I naturally gravitate towards because of my tastes and needs, turn out to be a lot less aggressive and dynamic in the bedroom. They'll play the leading role in the relationship as long as it suits them, and then turn round and resent me for not taking the lead more. Why is it acceptable for the roles to be the other way around, but when a man wants to be the sexually passive one, the recipient of romantic affection, the one admiring his strong, capable heroine, he is made to feel inadequate and wrong? If gender roles suck, then they suck for everyone. What's wrong with them being the other way around? What's wrong with desiring that if that's what you need? If gay men can be bottoms, then why can't straight men? I understand if you're trying to make babies, but otherwise, why does penis and vagina sex have to be viewed as the be-all and end-all of sex anyway? Or the end goal, as if so-called foreplay can't be a pleasurable and worthwhile experience all of its own? And why, when a man can't perform, or isn't into the idea at all, is that viewed as a failure of his maleness, or that he's letting his woman down? If you think any of these roles or expectations are just a facet of nature, then I guess those of us born male that feel those ways are by definition transgender for that reason. But if you're tempted to say at all that gender roles when it comes to sex and romance are not a reason to call your gender identity into question, then seriously, we really should start ranting and complaining about this stuff. And there is a failure of feminism here. These are examples where male privilege doesn't seem to stop situations where gender hurts men too. And this is an example of where women impose gender roles on men. And feminism really should start calling women out on that as well. Otherwise you get an unfair double standard, where women are allowed to be any way they want, express themselves any way they want, but they can still expect the men in their life to play some kind of rigid gender stereotype. It's not fair. And I realise that it doesn't matter if I'm a feminine man, a non-binary individual, or a trans woman. As a male-born person, I have the right to complain about the way that gender roles and stereotypes hurt those who were born male, and to fight for the right of men and males to be feminine, including in relationships and sexual experiences with women. Thanks for watching. We're all different, we're all special, snowflakes unite.